We often talk about success, happiness, and fulfillment as if they are destinations, places we can arrive at if we just do enough, achieve enough, or earn enough. But the truth is, none of those things begin with what we do. They begin with how we see. The way we choose to interpret the world around us directly shapes the life we experience within it. Two people can live the same day, face the same challenges, and walk away with two completely different stories. The difference isn't in the events, it's in the lens. Think about it: when you believe the world is full of opportunities, you start to see them everywhere. When you believe the world is unfair, you start to find evidence of injustice in every corner. Our mindset doesn't just influence our emotions. It acts like a filter, deciding what we notice, what we ignore, and what we give meaning to. It's not the external circumstance that defines us, but the story we attach to it. This is why every meaningful transformation begins with a shift in mindset. Diets, strategies, productivity hacks, they all fall short when the root perspective doesn't change. If I see challenges as threats, I will run from them. If I see them as teachers, I will lean in. The difference isn't in the challenge itself, it's in the way I choose to frame it. We've all met people who carry optimism like oxygen. They lose a job and say, "This is my chance to reinvent myself." They face rejection and say, "Now I know what to improve." These people aren't wired differently. They're not luckier or more gifted. They've simply trained their minds to ask better questions. Instead of "why me?" they ask, "what now?" But the opposite is also true. We've seen people with every advantage, resources, connections, talent, still stuck because they operate with a mindset that sabotages them. If they see the world as hostile, they become defensive. If they see it as competitive, they become guarded. If they see it as hopeless, they stop trying. The world reflects back the lens through which they view it. It's important to understand that our brains are not built to seek truth. They're built to seek consistency. If I believe I'm not good enough, I will unconsciously collect evidence to prove it. If I believe I'm capable of growth, I will notice every sign that I'm moving forward. The stories we tell ourselves don't just describe reality, they create it. This is why a mindset shift isn't just helpful. It's foundational. It's the seed that determines the tree. It's the root that feeds the fruit. Change the way you see, and your actions naturally change. And when your actions change, your results change. Transformation doesn't begin with doing more. It begins with seeing differently. At its core, a mindset shift is a decision to no longer be defined by the circumstance, but by the possibility within it. It's choosing to look at the world not as something happening to you, but something happening for you. Most of us are conditioned to think in terms of scarcity. We grow up hearing phrases like, "Don't waste it, save for a rainy day. There's only so much to go around." Scarcity teaches us to hold back, to hesitate, to protect what little we think we have. It makes every decision feel like a risk, every opportunity feel like a gamble, and every step forward feel like something to lose. When you ask showing up, the new project isn't about the fear of falling short. It's about the lessons you'll gather no matter the outcome. The relationship isn't about rejection. It's about the chance to connect deeply. Abundance doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending there are no risks or losses. It means refusing to let fear of loss define the boundaries of your life. It means seeing that with every choice, there's also something to be gained, even if that gain comes in the form of wisdom, resilience, or clarity. Think about the people who create lasting impact. They don't play life safe. They don't cling tightly to what they already know. They step into the unknown not because they're fearless, but because their vision of what they might gain is stronger than their fear of what they might lose. They understand that abundance isn't a matter of resources, it's a matter of perspective. Scarcity says, there's not enough to go around. Abundance says, there is always more to be created. Scarcity breeds jealousy, comparison, and protection. Abundance breeds collaboration, generosity, and innovation. Two people can look at the same pie. One sees competition for the last slice. The other sees an opportunity to bake another pie. This shift isn't about wealth or possessions, it's about mindset. A person with a scarcity mindset can have millions in the bank and still feel insecure. A person with an abundance mindset can have little and still live with freedom and creativity. It's not what's in your hand, it's how you see what's in your hand. When you stop asking, "What if I lose?" and start asking, "What if I gain?" you move from fear into possibility. You open the door to ideas, connections, and opportunities that were invisible when your focus was only on protecting what you had. We grow up fearing failure. In school, it's marked in red ink. In work, it's tied to performance reviews. In life, it becomes the word we whisper when something doesn't go as planned. Somewhere along the way, failure became the villain, the thing to avoid at all costs. But in reality, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the path to it. Failure is evidence of movement. It's proof you tried, proof you stretched, proof you stepped outside the comfort zone. Nobody fails by standing still. Nobody fails by never attempting anything new. The only people who never fail are the ones who never risk enough to discover what they're capable of. Think about the people we admire most, the inventors, the leaders, the creators. Behind every achievement, there's a trail of attempts that didn't work. Edison didn't discover the light bulb in one try. He discovered 1,000 ways it didn't work before he found one that did. The failures weren't wasted. They were necessary. Each one carried him closer to the solution. The problem isn't failure itself, it's the story we attach to it. When we call failure a dead end, it becomes one. When we call it a lesson, it becomes fuel. Failure doesn't say you're not good enough. It says you're in motion. It says you're experimenting. It says you're willing to do what others won't. Redefining failure means shifting from shame to curiosity. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? The question becomes, what can I learn from this? That change in framing transforms failure from something final into something formative. Every setback becomes raw material for growth. The irony is avoiding failure creates more of it. When we refuse to risk, we fail to grow. When we refuse to speak up, we fail to be heard. When we refuse to try, we fail by default. Playing it safe doesn't protect us from failure. It guarantees it just in a quieter, more invisible form. If success is progress, then failure is simply proof you're on the road. It's not a mark against you. It's a marker along the journey. Each one is a signpost saying, you're still moving, keep going. The only real failure is quitting before the story is finished. When failure is redefined, it loses its power to paralyze. It becomes something to expect, something to welcome, something to learn from. It's not the enemy of success. It's the evidence that success is on its way. Perfection is a moving target. No matter how much we polish, no matter how much we prepare, there's always one more detail to fix, one more angle to refine, one more thing to improve. The pursuit of perfection can feel noble, but more often it becomes a trap, a standard so impossible that it paralyzes us before we even begin. Growth, on the other hand, is measurable and attainable. Growth says, I'm better than I was yesterday. Growth says, I learned something I didn't know before. Growth is not about flawless outcomes, it's about consistent improvement. When the focus is on growth, every step forward counts. When the focus is on perfection, nothing is ever enough. The problem with perfection is that it demands certainty before action. It whispers, don't try until you're ready. Don't speak until it's polished. Don't launch until it's flawless. But if we wait for perfect, we wait forever. Growth doesn't ask for perfect. It asks for progress. It asks for the courage to begin even when the conditions aren't ideal. Consider a child learning to walk. They don't wait until they've mastered balance before they take their first step. They wobble, they stumble, they fall, and each attempt makes them stronger. We would never call those falls failures. We call them part of the process. Yet as adults, we often demand perfection from ourselves before we allow the process to unfold. When we aim for perfection, we fear mistakes. When we aim for growth, mistakes become teachers. A wrong turn reveals where the path truly lies. An awkward first attempt gives us something to refine. Perfection says mistakes are unacceptable. Growth says mistakes are inevitable and necessary. The pursuit of perfection also isolates us. It makes us compare, compete, and hide our flaws. Growth, however, invites community. It allows us to share the journey, to learn from others, to admit, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm improving. Growth creates connection because it's human. Perfection creates distance because it's impossible. Shifting from perfection to growth changes the questions we ask ourselves. Instead of, is this flawless? We ask, is this better? Instead of, will everyone approve? We ask, did I learn something? Instead of, am I good enough yet? We ask, am I further than I was before? Those questions move us forward instead of keeping us stuck. Focusing on growth over perfection doesn't lower the bar. It raises it in the right direction. It means trading the illusion of flawlessness for the reality of progress. It means choosing the courage to improve over the fear of not being enough. One of the most profound shifts we can make in life is moving from a mindset of self-centered gain to one of contribution. Most of us naturally begin with the question, how does this serve me? It's human instinct to look for personal benefit, to ask what we're getting in return. But this perspective keeps our world small, limited to the boundaries of our own needs. When we flip the question to, how can I serve others? Everything expands. Suddenly, our work takes on greater meaning. Our relationships grow deeper. Our challenges become opportunities to help. Service has a way of pulling us out of our own limitations and anchoring us in something bigger than ourselves. Think about the leaders who inspire us most. They're not the ones who demanded recognition, but the ones who gave without asking for credit. They built movements, not empires. They understood that real influence comes not from taking more, but from giving more. The legacy of service always outlasts the pursuit of self. Service also transforms the way we experience success. Achievements won for ourselves alone can feel hollow once the applause fades. But when our efforts lift others, success multiplies. A single act of service ripples outward, often in ways we never see. Helping one person creates impact beyond measure, because that person then carries the influence forward. The irony is that serving others doesn't weaken us. It strengthens us. It builds resilience, perspective, and purpose. When we give, we discover resources within ourselves we didn't know we had. Service stretches our capacity for empathy, creativity, and leadership. What begins as an offering to others becomes fuel for our own growth. Service also changes how we view struggle. When life is only about us, every setback feels personal and heavy. But when we see our struggles as a way to better serve others, even pain becomes purposeful. Our failures can become guidance for someone else. Our resilience can become inspiration for those still finding their way. The question, how can I serve, reframes even the smallest actions. A conversation becomes a chance to listen deeply. A skill becomes a tool for contribution. A platform becomes a responsibility, not just a privilege. Service isn't reserved for grand gestures. It's found in the everyday choices to put others before ourselves. In the end, strength isn't measured by how much we accumulate, but by how much we give. The greatest changes happen when we shift from self-preservation to self-giving, from asking what the world owes us to asking what we can offer the world. There is a single word that can change the weight of limitation yet. Without it, the sentence, "I can't do this," sounds final, heavy, and immovable. It shuts the door and locks it tight. But when you add "yet," the sentence changes completely. "I can't do this yet" becomes a statement of possibility, of patience, of growth. Yet acknowledges where you are without condemning where you'll stay. It's an admission of current limitation paired with a promise of future potential. It creates space for progress while removing the burden of perfection. It says, "I don't have it now, but I'm on the way." Think about how children learn. They don't pick up a bike and ride flawlessly on the first try. They wobble, they fall, they scrape their knees. If they said, "I can't ride a bike," and stopped there, they'd never learn. But with "yet," the statement becomes, "I can't ride a bike yet." And that opens the door to keep trying until balance is found. The power of "yet" lies in how it reshapes identity. Without it, failure feels like proof of who you are. With it, failure becomes part of the process of who you are becoming. It separates effort from worth. It says your skills are not fixed, your intelligence is not limited, your potential is not predetermined. Yet also builds resilience. It trains the mind to see setbacks not as permanent walls, but as temporary hurdles. Instead of thinking, "I'll never figure this out," the thought becomes, "I haven't figured this out yet." That single shift keeps momentum alive and keeps hope intact. In a world that celebrates instant results, "yet" is a reminder that growth takes time. Mastery is built through repetition, patience, and persistence. Every expert once said, "I can't do this yet." Every achievement is stacked on a foundation of attempts that looked incomplete, clumsy, or uncertain. Adding it changes the way we respond to challenge. It turns discouragement into motivation, judgment into curiosity, and impossibility into possibility. It teaches us to see progress as a journey, not a finish line. With "yet," the story is never over, it's always unfolding. When we embrace the power of "yet," we give ourselves permission to grow. We allow space for learning, for practice, for mistakes. And in that space, potential takes root and begins to flourish. When we look at extraordinary achievements, it's easy to believe they happened overnight. The promotion, the breakthrough, the invention, the success, all appear sudden from the outside. But behind every big leap is a long trail of small, steady steps taken in the shadows when no one was watching. Small steps are deceptively powerful. On their own, they can feel insignificant, almost invisible. Reading a few pages, saving a few dollars, practicing a few minutes, saying one kind word. But compounded over time, these small actions create momentum. They stack, they build, and eventually they transform into something far greater than the sum of their parts. Consistency, not intensity, is what creates lasting change. Anyone can sprint for a short time, but the ones who keep moving day after day create results that endure. A single workout doesn't build strength, but a habit of movement does. A single conversation doesn't deepen trust, but a pattern of honesty does. Extraordinary lives aren't built in bursts, they're built in rhythms. Small steps also lower the barrier to action. Perfection demands a flawless plan before starting. Growth demands only the next step. By focusing on the immediate, we bypass the overwhelm of the whole journey. We don't need to climb the mountain in one day, we just need to take the next step upward. The beauty of small steps is that they are within reach. They don't require superhuman willpower or rare talent. They require only willingness and persistence. Anyone can take one step, and then another, and then another. Over time, those small steps lead to places once thought impossible. Small steps also prepare us for big leaps. They build the skill, the resilience, and the confidence needed when opportunities come. What looks like a sudden breakthrough is usually the result of years of quiet preparation. When the leap arrives, it feels natural because the small steps have made us ready. This principle applies in every area of life. Extraordinary relationships are built on ordinary moments of attention. Extraordinary careers are built on ordinary habits of learning. Extraordinary character is built on ordinary choices made consistently over time. What feels small in the moment often proves to be the foundation for everything meaningful. The truth is, greatness is rarely about doing something once in a spectacular way. It's about showing up repeatedly in simple ways. The extraordinary is born from the ordinary, multiplied through consistency, until one day it looks like a leap. Gratitude is not about denying reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It doesn't erase difficulties, nor does it magically remove obstacles. What gratitude does is shift the way we interpret what is in front of us. It changes the filter through which we experience the world, turning the same circumstances into something that carries different meaning. When we choose gratitude, the ordinary becomes significant. A meal becomes nourishment, not just routine. A conversation becomes connection, not just noise. A challenge becomes an opportunity to grow, not just a burden to endure. Gratitude doesn't alter the facts, but it transforms the story we tell about those facts. This shift is powerful because the way we see shapes the way we live. When our lens is clouded with scarcity, we notice only what is missing. When our lens is tinted with complaint, we see only what is wrong. But when the lens is gratitude, we start noticing abundance, beauty, and possibility that were always there but hidden from our attention. Gratitude also reframes comparison. Without it, we look at what others have and feel diminished. With it, we recognize what we've been given and feel enriched. Gratitude breaks the cycle of measuring our worth against someone else's highlight reel, reminding us that enoughness isn't found out there. It's found in what we already hold. Even in difficulty, gratitude reshapes perspective. Pain can reveal resilience. Loss can remind us of love. Struggle can uncover strength we didn't know we had. Gratitude doesn't celebrate the hardship itself, but honors the hidden gifts within it. It allows us to see light in the very places that feel the darkest. Practicing gratitude doesn't require grand gestures. It can be as simple as noticing the breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the people who stand by you. The act of naming what is good trains the mind to look for more of it, and what we look for, we find over time, gratitude becomes less of a practice and more of a way of seeing. This lens of gratitude also changes relationships. When we approach others with thankfulness instead of expectation, connections deepen. A partner feels valued, a colleague feels appreciated, a stranger feels acknowledged. Gratitude builds bridges because it shifts focus from what people lack to what they give. In the end, gratitude doesn't change the scene. It changes the lens. It reminds us that life is not defined by what we encounter, but by how we choose to see it.